My name is Jake, and for the last decade, I was married to a woman named Natalie. If you had asked me a few years back, I would have said we had a solid marriage. Turns out, I couldn't have been more wrong. Behind my back, Natalie had been planning her exit, assuming she'd take half of everything with her. She thought she had it all mapped out. But what she didn't realize was, I was already several steps ahead. To be fair, not everything had been bad between us. In the beginning, she was kind, engaged, and genuinely seemed proud to be with me. For a while, it felt like we were a team. But as the years passed, something shifted. She began taking subtle jabs at me. At first, I laughed them off, mistaking them for harmless teasing. But the comments grew sharper. She'd compare me to other men, co-workers, friends, even total strangers. Why can't you be more driven like James? See how Kevin treats his wife. They go on trips all the time. Frank always fixes things around the house. You should take notes. It was never about me. It was always about what I wasn't. Taller, wealthier, handier, better. Eventually, I came to terms with the truth. No matter what I did, it would never be enough for her. If I stayed late at work, I wasn't prioritizing the family. If I came home early, I lacked ambition. If I bought her a gift, I was irresponsible with money. If I didn't, I was unloving. There was no winning. Still, I stayed, for our daughter. I wasn't going to let her grow up in a broken home if I could help it. So I tolerated the constant sarcasm and emotional distance. One ordinary Saturday, I was lounging in the living room, scrolling through my phone, when my daughter walked over wearing the kind of hopeful grin kids wear when they're about to ask for something. "Daddy, can we get ice cream?" she beamed. I smiled and shook my head. "Sweetheart, you know we can't have ice cream all the time. Too much sugar, remember?" It was a line she'd heard more times than I could count. Normally, she'd pout or try to charm her way into a yes. But this time, she just shrugged and said, "But Uncle Ben always gets me ice cream." Everything inside me froze. I kept my tone calm. "Uncle Ben, huh? Who's that?" Without hesitation, she replied, "Mommy's friend. He comes over when you're working or gone. He brings me ice cream and cookies." I just sat there, stunned. A child her age doesn't make up things like that, especially not with such innocent ease. In her world, there was nothing unusual about it. I managed a forced smile. "That's nice of him." She nodded and ran off to play, leaving me with a pit in my stomach. My wife had a male friend, one who visited when I was away. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I started paying attention. That's when things clicked. She had started leaving the house more than usual. She always had some errand, some reason to be gone, but somehow, the gym took half a day, and plans with friends became more frequent and less believable. Whenever I asked simple questions, "Where'd you go? Why were you gone so long?" she got defensive, like I had no right to even ask. Her phone became another red flag. Always on silent. Always placed screen down. She carried it everywhere, even to the bathroom. If it rang while we were in the same room, she'd snatch it up and leave before answering. She didn't want me near it. And if I happened to glance in its direction, she'd swipe away notifications so fast you'd think she was hiding state secrets. That wasn't how things used to be. We never had secrets before. But now, it felt like she was living a second life. And her mood. Like someone had flipped a switch. Everything I did annoyed her. Minor issues sparked full-blown arguments. I also noticed a pattern. Fights often broke out right before she needed some air or decided to go out. It felt deliberate, like I was being painted as the problem so she could justify leaving the house. I didn't accuse her of anything, not at first. I still wanted to believe we could fix things. I'd ask if she was stressed, if something was wrong. She always shut me down. But once I started connecting the dots, I stopped asking. One night, I was working at the desk in our bedroom when my pen ran dry. I looked around for a spare and noticed Natalie's purse sitting open on the dresser. Without thinking, I reached inside. My fingers landed on something small and plastic. I pulled it out. It was a pill bottle. At first, I didn't recognize the name of the medication. I picked up my phone, typed it into Google, and there it was. It was used to treat sexually transmitted infections. I hadn't been intimate with Natalie in a long time. So finding that medication could only mean one thing: she was sleeping with someone else. I heard the water turn off in the bathroom. Quickly and carefully, I placed the bottle back exactly as I had found it. I didn't want her to know I had seen it, at least, not yet. Confronting her then would have given her the upper hand. Instead, I decided to stay calm and think strategically. Texas allows fault-based divorce. If I could present solid evidence of her infidelity, she wouldn't just forfeit any claim to spousal support. She could actually end up owing me. That changed everything. Rather than reacting emotionally, I started planning. My first step was hiring an attorney who specialized in high-conflict divorce cases. He walked me through what I needed: hard proof that would stand up in court. That's when I brought in a private investigator. It took several weeks before the PI came back with findings. And when he did, he confirmed what I already suspected. Natalie wasn't just cheating, she was brazen about it. There were photographs of her meeting up with a man in different public places. But what really crushed any remaining sympathy I had for her was what came next. She brought him into our house. Yes, the same home where our daughter slept. The PI had video stills, timestamps, and images of his car parked in our driveway, repeatedly, during times I was at work. Whatever feelings I had left for Natalie evaporated. The disrespect was staggering. But it wasn't just about me anymore. I began seeing how she had been neglecting our daughter too. She would disappear for hours, sometimes missing bedtime altogether just to be with him. Her priorities were obvious, and our daughter wasn't one of them. My attorney told me plainly, if I could prove she was failing as a parent, I had grounds to seek full custody. And that became my new goal. At this stage, she had no idea I was building a case against her. She thought she had me fooled. In truth, I was quietly laying every brick of my exit plan. When it came to our finances, I knew she'd bleed me dry without hesitation if given the chance. So I acted preemptively. I moved all significant assets into legally protected accounts under our daughter's name, set up as educational trusts and inheritance funds. On paper, everything now belonged to our child. And thanks to legal structuring, Natalie couldn't touch a cent. It wasn't as easy as simply transferring money. I did everything under the guidance of an experienced lawyer, making sure it was fully compliant and irreversible. This wasn't out of spite, it was self-preservation. If I had left those assets in our joint names and initiated divorce proceedings, she could have claimed half or more. But now, it wasn't my money anymore. It was safeguarded for our daughter's future. And as her legal guardian, I would retain full control. Then, one night, after another petty argument, Natalie finally said the words I had been waiting for. I want a divorce. She folded her arms, expecting me to fall apart, to plead, to try and fix things. Instead, I smiled and replied, "Okay." That single word shattered her confidence. She stared at me, blinking like she hadn't expected me to accept it so easily. She assumed she held all the cards, that she'd walk away with half the assets and a comfortable alimony check. What she didn't know was I'd spent months preparing for this exact conversation. The very next morning, before she could bring up how she thought we should split things fairly, my attorney served her with divorce papers. She was still in her robe, sipping coffee at the breakfast table, when the envelope landed in front of her. I watched her entire world unravel in slow motion as she read the documents. The paperwork spelled it all out: no alimony, potential damages owed, and a full custody request. Her face went blank. She didn't say a word. For the first time in years, she was completely silent. During the court proceedings, Natalie still walked in like she had control of the narrative. Maybe she believed the judge would take pity on her, or that she could twist things to her advantage. But she underestimated how thorough my preparation had been. The private investigator had delivered airtight evidence, pictures with exact dates and times, showing her repeatedly meeting with her lover in various locations. Then came the final blow, the prescription bottle. I had snapped photos of it the night I found it. When my lawyer presented that evidence, her expression drained of color. The judge didn't hide his reaction. In Texas, cheating completely shifts the outcome of a divorce. Natalie had broken her vows. And the court treated it that way. No spousal support. No asset claim. In fact, due to her behavior, she was now facing the possibility of paying me. But the most devastating blow came when custody was decided. My lawyer detailed how she had repeatedly abandoned our daughter to pursue her affair, how she left our child home alone, missed bedtimes, and prioritized her double life over her responsibilities. The judge didn't hesitate. He ruled in my favor. Full custody. No joint parenting. No alternating weekends. Natalie was officially a visitor in her daughter's life. By the time the final decision was handed down, nearly every major asset had already been placed beyond her reach. The house was protected, the finances were locked, and the ruling left her with nothing. She walked out of that courthouse a very different woman than the one who once smugly demanded a divorce. I won't pretend I didn't once wish things could have been different. There was a time when I would have fought to keep the family together for our daughter's sake. But that time is long gone. This entire experience showed me the truth. Some betrayals leave scars too deep to heal, and some people only feel remorse when the consequences finally catch up. Natalie tried to keep her pride. At first, she acted like she didn't care. But once she realized she was walking away empty-handed, losing custody, and with no safety net, her tune changed. Suddenly, she was calling. Sending long, teary messages about how she missed the good times, how her daughter needed both parents, how she had made a terrible mistake. But where was all this regret when she was sneaking around behind my back? Where was this concern when she looked me in the eyes and lied? I stood my ground. She tried everything, guilt trips, fake apologies, even blaming me for not fighting harder for the marriage. But you can't rescue something the other person already burned to the ground. She wasn't sorry she betrayed me, she was sorry she lost. Now, I'm finally free. Not just legally, but emotionally, mentally, and financially. I can focus on my daughter, on giving her a safe, stable home, on building a future that doesn't include lies or manipulation. And I've learned a few things. First, never ignore your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Second, protect yourself, your heart and your finances. If I hadn't, I'd be the one left broken. Third, people only respect your boundaries once they realize they can't walk over them anymore. So, what do you think? Did I make the right moves? What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Let me know in the comments, and remember, she thought she was playing me. In the end, she only outplayed herself.